All right, here we're going to talk about the volume of a cone. Again, this is not a middle school topic, but it's a high school one, but it's a kind of easy one to do. So here we go. A couple of vocab words for a cone, just so you know. I mean, you guys kind of know what a cone looks like. It has a circular base. So your base is a circle. You need to know the radius. The height of it is from the center going to that little vertex. This little pointy guy is the vertex. And then there's another height called the slant height, and that's that slanted area right there. The slanted height is going to be bigger than that height. So that height is going to be smaller than your slant height. And the formula is actually going to be similar to the formula of a cylinder. These shapes are very closely related. So here are two shapes. They have the same base, okay, the same radius. So that's the same. And just remember that the volume of a cylinder is the base times the height right there. So base of that circle, the area times the height. Well, the volume of a cone is pretty much the same thing. It's the base of the cylinder, or it's the base of the circle times the height, but obviously the cone is less than the cylinder. So if I were to put these in here, these almost fit perfectly. You can see that the cone will fit it will fit perfectly, not in this case, but it will fit perfectly inside the cylinder. It's actually a third of the volume of the cylinder, which is kind of fun. So basically the volume of a cone is just a third of the volume of the cylinder that it would fit into. So that would be the area of the base, so pi r squared. So there's your pi r squared, there's your base, times your height. That's the formula of the cylinder that it would fit into. And then you're just gonna divide it by 3 or multiply it by a third. So I'll write that a little bit bigger. It's a third of the base times the height. So that's kind of a fun way of how the cylinder and the cone are related. So let's do an example. Example 1, just find the volume of this cone. Well, the radius is 5 and the height is 12. I don't need to find out anything else. I know that the volume is the area of the base times the height, and I'm going to take a third of that. And the volume of the base is pi r squared. It's that circle times the height, and I'm going to take a third of that. Now I'm going to plug in what I know. The radius is 5, so pi times 5 squared. The height is 12. And I'm going to take a third of that. And I could do, let's see, 5 squared is 25. A third of 12 is 4, so I'm just going to multiply it by 4. And I get 100 pi. That's my exact answer. So again, we're finding volume, so it is feet cubed. That's my exact answer. And if I wanted to find my approximate, multiply it by pi. 314.16 cubic feet. So there is the volume. Let's see, example 2, we're going to have to do a little bit of work before we can find the volume, because in order to find the volume, I need to know the radius. Well, the diameter is 18, so the radius is 9. But I also need to know this height. This height here, I know the slant height is 14. If that's 14, this is also 14. This is 9 right here. So this makes a right triangle with 9 and, I don't know, h, and a hypotenuse of 14. In order to use my formula, I need to know this height right here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what this value is. So Pythagorean theorem is 1 leg plus 1 leg equals the hypotenuse. So I have 9 squared plus my height squared equals my hypotenuse squared. 81. 14 squared, I don't remember, 196. I'm going to find what that is. I'm going to subtract 81. Height squared equals 115. And I'm going to take the square root of both sides. The height equals the square root of 115. And I could just simplify that. I don't know if I can simplify that. But I'm going to go ahead and just find the approximate value of it. for this particular problem, and that's approximately 10.7. So 10.7 yards is my height. Now that I know my height and my radius, now I can go ahead and find the volume. So my volume is, again, my base, the area of my base times my height, and I'm going to take a third of that. The area of my base, it's just the area of this circle, pi r squared times the height, and I'm going to take a third of that. It's really nice knowing this basic formula because if you know what this is, you can recreate it pretty easily. I'm going to plug in what I know. Pi, the radius is 9, the height, which I just found, is 10.7 approximately. And I'm going to take a third of that. I'm not going to find my exact value here because I already rounded, so it doesn't make any sense to make an exact value with a rounded value in it. So I'm just going to do, let's see, 81, 9 squared times 10.7 times pi divided by 3. Just type all that in my calculator. I love calculators. And that is approximately 907.61. And my units is yards, and I am finding volume, so that is cubed. So that's my volume. So remember, volume of a cone is the volume of its cylinder. So base, area of your base times your height, and then you divide it by 3.